Good morning, students. Welcome to the first class of this semester. So in the last semester, I took design of machine elements 1 for you. So this semester I will be handling design of machine elements 2. Okay, so in the last semester, even though we did not get much of time for the offline classes, we at least thought this semester we will get a lot of time for offline teaching, but unfortunately due to the COVID situation we are not able to. So hence we will continue with online mode this semester. So you know the idea like how design of machine element subject works, right? So if you in learning this subject you will need a textbook and also you will need a data handbook. Okay. So last time we referred JBK Das design of machine elements 1 and Balveer Reddy for our data handbook. So this semester as per the request from the students we will be using design of machine elements to again JBK Das, and also as far as data handbook is concerned we will be using Lingaya this time. Okay, so since this subject is little bit difficult to teach in the online mode, considering all data handbook, you need to have data handbook for reference, all those things. So first of all I have chosen such a module that can be easily taught using online mode. So that is module number 5, which is lubrication and bearings. So we will this particular module is little bit easier as compared to others, and also can be taught using online mode. So that is the reason I am choosing this module first, and also it is little bit easy module. So this is basically the contents of the complete course of design and machine elements 2. The first module is dealing with curved beams, cylinders and cylinder heads. Second module we have belts, wire ropes, chain drives and springs. So module number 3 is gear drives, spur gears, helical and bevel gears. Module number 4 consists of worm gears and also design of clutches and brakes. So module number 5 it is lubrication and bearings and also anti-friction bearing. These are two bits actually, lubrication and bearings and anti-friction bearings. So I will be starting with the first bit, and also not to forget, so already we are facing difficult situation as far as COVID is concerned. Therefore the agenda again this time, or the plan will be to first cover one bit from each module so that you will be able to attempt all the 5 questions in the exam. Okay, so keeping that in mind, so I am starting with the easiest module, which is also easy to learn and as well as easy to teach in the online mode, that is lubrication and bearings. So let's hope the situation improves in the coming days and we will be able to take offline classes. So possibly then we will move to the further modules. Okay, so let's start. First of all, we'll start with the basic definitions in this module. So first one is lubrication. So the definition says any substance placed between two rubbing surfaces which reduces friction is called lubricant. Okay, so first of all we need to know that the definition of friction actually. So whenever you try to rub two surfaces, the resistance that is caused by each of the surface on each other, so that is called friction. It is just like, try to rub your hands against each other, so each hand is trying to offer some resistance to other hand, so that is called friction. So in mechanical engineering we will come across lot of components wherein two components rub across each other. So in order to avoid that, in order to make that sliding smooth, a substance is placed between the two surfaces or two rubbing surfaces. So it can be in the form of liquids, it can be in the form of solids, or it can be in the form of semi-liquids. So that particular substance is called lubricant. Okay, so the second type is the second line, you might say the types of lubricant. As I already said, the first one is liquid. Generally liquid type of lubricants are used in the mechanical engineering applications. So they are usually preferred when that liquid or that lubricant has to be retained at the same place. It has to be retained at the same place. So examples, some of the examples of liquid lubricants are mineral oil, animal oil, vegetable oil, and also synthetic oil. But mineral oil is the most commonly used because it is very less cost. So it's the most commonly used. Then in semi-liquids case, you must have seen grease in majority of the automobile applications. You will be able to notice grease in this. Grease is used as a lubricant. So it is generally used where slow and heavy pressure exists. Okay. And then there is a solid form of lubricants as well, which is the example for which is graphite and wax, mica, etc. So the solid form of lubricant is helpful in reducing friction where oil films cannot be maintained. So there is a challenge in sometimes where you cannot use a liquid lubricant. So in that case, maybe solid lubricant is used and it serves the purpose. Okay. So since in this subject some things cannot be, or it is difficult to edit in terms of Microsoft PowerPoint presentations. So what I have done is I have written it on the paper and took a snapshot of it. I hope the handwriting is visible. If there is any problem with the handwriting or legibility, you can just contact me or ask the doubt whenever you watch this video. So the next thing what we need to study is the properties of lubricant. So the first and foremost property that a lubricant needs is something called viscosity. Okay, so what is this viscosity? It is a property of fluid by virtue of which it offers resistance to shear. Okay, so more the viscosity of the fluid, higher the load carrying capacity. Similarly, more the viscosity of the fluid, the more it can offer resistance to heat and pressure. Okay, so that is the reason viscosity is a very important parameter in properties of the lubricants. So viscosity is, it should have high viscosity. Okay, then viscosity, to define viscosities, there are two types actually. One is called kinematic viscosity, the other is called dynamic viscosity, and both of them have their individual applications. You must have studied this kinematic viscosity and dynamic viscosity in a subject called fluid mechanics. Okay, so just to recall, dynamic viscosity is defined as shear stress into height of the thickness layer of the fluid divided by uniform velocity. Okay, so that is tau into h divided by v, and its SI unit is Newton second per meter square. Standard SI unit is Newton second per meter square. So similarly, kinematic viscosity is defined as dynamic viscosity or absolute viscosity divided by the density of this fluid. So therefore, if you derive the kinematic viscosity standard SI unit, it comes out to be meter square per second. Okay, and also there is a relation between absolute viscosity eta and something called specific viscosity eta suffix t. So this will come across maybe when you are solving problems. Do not worry much about that. So right now just make a note of it. Right. So the first property which we should notice and which is very important for lubricant is viscosity. Let's see the remaining properties. The second one is something called oiliness. So what is oiliness referred to is, it refers to wettability, surface tension and slipperiness in the fluid. I hope you understand what does you mean by slipperiness in the fluid. Okay, so it can be defined as the ability of an oil to maintain unbroken lubricating film between the rubbing surfaces. That means whenever you place a lubricant between two rubbing surfaces, there should not be any discontinuity in the liquid. There should not be any discontinuity in the liquid. It should be continuous. So that property is ensured by something called oiliness. Okay. Then we have third point, which is called flash point. So flash point is the lowest temperature at which oil gives off sufficient vapor to give momentary flash on introduction of a flame. It means the lowest temperature at which the lubricant turns into vapor. So when that vapor is formed, a little bit of spark or ignition should give a flame. Flame means fire. Should give a flame. So that at which temperature that oil gives sufficient vapor, at which if you give a spark, a flame is formed, that temperature is called flash point. Okay. So ideally a good lubricant should have flash point above the operating temperature. For example, a lubricant is suppose used in any mechanical applications, engineering applications. If the operating temperature is in the range of say 0 to 100 degrees Celsius, just an example, the operating temperature is in the range of 0 to 100 degrees Celsius. So definitely your flash point should be above 100 degrees Celsius itself. So what happens if it is within 0 to 100 degrees Celsius? So anytime there is a possibility that your lubricant will catch fire with the slightest spark in the surfaces. So that should not happen actually. So flash point should be always higher than your operating temperature. Then next one is fire point, is similar to flash point except that at this temperature the complete lubricant catches fire. The complete lubricant catches fire. So obviously it should also be higher than the operating range of the applications. Okay. So the fifth one is something called pour point. It is the lowest temperature at which oil ceases to flow when cooled. That means if suppose your component is operating in very low temperature ranges, in cool regions, so it might so happen that your lubricant is freezed. It is becoming freezed and it is not freely moving. So that becomes a problem for the engineering applications. The last one is a cloud point, temperature at which oil becomes cloudy in appearance when cooled. Okay. So these are the 6 properties which you should make note of. The properties of lubricant: viscosity, oiliness, flash point, fire point, pour point and cloud point. Okay. The next one is how do you select a lubricant? How do you select a lubricant? What are the factors that you should take into account before selection of a lubricant? So some of the points are listed here. So should take in account of the relative speed between the members. That means in whatever two surfaces, between which two surfaces you are trying to place lubricant, what is the relative speed between them? What is the relative speed between them that you should take into account? The temperature range under which the lubricant must operate. So what is the temperature range in which your lubricant is operating? Whether it is 0 to 100 degrees Celsius, 0 to 50 degrees Celsius, because you have to assess the flash point and fire point, failing which there is a possibility of catching fire of the lubricant. Okay. Then the intensity of pressure between the mating surfaces. How much pressure is placed on the lubricant when two surfaces are rubbing on each other. Then in which atmosphere your bearing or mating surfaces are operating, the method of applying lubricant, okay, and what is the life required, and also the frictional losses allowed. What is the frictional losses allowed in that particular application? These are the factors which you should take into account before selection of lubricant in any engineering applications. Okay. Then what is the purpose of lubrication? So already we have seen much of detail of this. Still, let's try to list out few points. The main purpose of lubrication is to reduce the friction between two surfaces which are rubbing with each other, okay, or moving surfaces of machine parts. Then another important function of the lubrication is to cool the parts. Generally, when two surfaces are rubbing with each other, so obviously the temperature rises. Okay, when two surfaces are rubbing with each other, temperature rises. So lubrication or lubricant helps in reducing that temperature. It absorbs certain heat that is generated by the two surfaces. Then to clean the parts by washing away of decomposition of carbon and metal particles caused by wear. Then to cushion the parts against vibration and impact. Also, your lubricant also provides some cushioning effect, right? It also provides some cushioning effect. Then it also reduces the wear and thereby increasing the life of your bearing. It also provides protection against corrosion. So corrosion effects comes into picture whenever there is a water. Okay, so your lubricant helps in protection against corrosion, and it is also used to seal the space between piston and cylinder in engine casing. These are some of the purposes why lubricant is used. Then next one, what is a typical characteristics of a good lubricant? What are the properties or typical characteristics a good lubricant must possess? Okay, so first is it must have sufficient viscosity. So as we discussed earlier, higher the viscosity, it's a good for us. Higher the viscosity, higher the load carrying capability, and also higher the heat carrying capability. Then it should have physical stability with regard to temperature and pressure. That means if your temperature and pressure is increased in the process of operating range, the lubricant itself should not destabilize. The lubricant itself should not destabilize chemically, or it should not continuously break into droplets. Then it should also have high flash and fire point. We already discussed this. Chemical stability against oxidation. Against oxidation means by reacting with oxygen, it should not form a different chemical composition. Resistance to emulsion. It should be non-volatile. It should be free from corrosion. Okay, and easy fluidity at low temperatures. At low temperatures, it should be able to free flow easily. That is what is the meaning of easy fluidity. At low temperature, it should have easy free flow. Okay, so these are some of the points which we discussed in this class. So in the next class, we'll start with some of the bearing materials and properties, what a bearing is. Okay, we will discuss all those things in the next class. Thank you.